Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's reading is going to be a super breakdown of your 2022 year. So I'm going to be going over like literally every single month, kind of what you should be expecting as like a major theme of that month, how you can sort of see it appear or show up, and then how you can work with it. I'm also going to talk a little bit about kind of just how this whole pandemic will still kind of look for you in the next year, as well as how can you manifest things and what challenges are in your way and what are basically the overall lessons that are going to be coming up for you in 2022. So just remember with all psychic readings that I can be wrong and things can change. So you can take the information here, and if you don't like it, you can change it. You can take the knowledge ahead of time and say, oh, okay, well, I want to avoid that happening, so how can I do that? So if you are new to pick a card readings, how they work is you basically pick one of these three piles. So this is pile 1, 2, and 3. And there will be more cards obviously per pile, but this is kind of the overall energy. So ask your guides, focus in on these cards and ask which pile is meant for me for my 2022. And if you're not sure, you can just watch them all and then figure it out when you're done and see kind of what resonates most. And if you are new here, please subscribe. I am a psychic, medium, animal communicator, but most importantly, a psychic coach. So my channel here, I do pick a card readings every now and then, but I also do a lot of coaching for psychic development. So if you're curious and you want to learn how to grow your psychic abilities, subscribe and check out some of my videos in my Start Here playlist. Also, after you are done with your pick a card reading, I did one additional reading towards the end, so make sure you skip to that. That will be an additional 3 cards for everyone. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to meditate here, set the intention. You know, you want to talk to beings of your highest and best good, and you want to ask which pile is meant for you. All right, pile number 1. I know this is a ton of cards, but basically this is just a different take on the Wheel of the Year spread. So it's typically laid out in a big circle. I just don't have that much room. So this is basically just your whole year, month by month. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. And we're just going to do one at a time so it's not overwhelming. And let's start with January of what the energy is looking like. And so these are all going to be majors so that we kind of know, okay, what's the big energy that's coming in. In January for you guys, I know this as the Lovers, but I really read the Lovers card as how are you your own best ally? So this is getting to know yourself in January and asking, you know, how can I work with myself instead of against myself? And what strengths can I rely on and utilize to basically get the things that I desire? So I'm going to now pull from the Pip cards. So these are just the minor arcana cards, but not the court cards. And this is basically just asking, okay, how does this energy show up in the month of January? And I'm teaching you guys this spread in case you ever want to do it for yourself and make it a little bit more specific. So 7 of Swords. I feel like this card, this is kind of talking about just mental challenges. So, and especially with the Lovers, I don't know how I'm going to squish all of these on here, but so how you're going to be kind of asking yourself, how can I be my own best ally? It's going to be around your mental health and the things you're having a hard time with mentally or things that are challenging in your life. It's going to be a month of asking yourself, how can I use my best strengths to kind of help in these areas where I'm feeling just challenged with the stuff that's going on in my life, especially, you know, around not necessarily your emotions, but trying to figure out how to approach things, how to make decisions. That's kind of what I think about when we think of the Swords. And then we go into February. Ooh, and we have the High Priestess. This is a good card to transition into because I really read the High Priestess as you're really connecting with yourself. You're really connecting with your intuition. See how she's just sort of lounging here and she's sitting with the moon. I feel like February is going to be a month where you feel really connected to both your kind of subconscious, your intuition, and all of that good stuff. So let's see how it actually shows up using the pick cards. Two of Swords. Oh my gosh, this is so perfect. I feel like you're going to come out of January really feeling on top of kind of like your mental health. The Two of Swords is really about stability, especially with like the whole symmetry of this card. And look at how powerful she looks. She's like, no, I'm on top of like everything I need. I can handle, all the things that life is throwing at me. I feel mentally ready to take on what the world is throwing at me. And I think it's because you guys are connecting to that High Priestess energy, which is basically just using your intuition. All right, so let's jump into March for you. The Hanged Man. So this is supposed to go this way. I'm actually not reading these reversed. So March is going to be a time where things feel a little forced. It feels like the world might be hanging you upside down. You might be trying to like accomplish something and it's just not working. And it's almost like you're being forced to look at things from a different angle or a new perspective. And just know that with this card and this energy, to work with it, it's, to accept this new perspective and to try to see things differently and not be so stuck to what you're trying to do. And that'll go a lot smoother than if you try to fight it. So let's see how this is actually going to show up. Three of Swords. Man, we got a lot of Swords energy. This card is actually sometimes about self-sabotage, and it's kind of an invitation to find more harmony and balance with yourself. I feel like mental health stuff is going to be big for you guys next year. Just making sure that you're on top of, taking care of yourself and giving yourself what you need. And I feel like March specifically just might feel like more of a struggle because you keep like fighting against the things that should be happening, and instead of just kind of like leaning into it, you might be doing this self-sabotage. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but she's like cutting off her own wings right here. So again, it's like the quicker you can stop fighting it and lean into the energy and say, okay, what am I not seeing here? What do I actually need to be learning here? Then I feel like it's going to help a lot with just this mental energy of not knowing how to handle things. So let's jump into April. Wheel of Fortune. Honestly, I'm feeling like April is going to really take a turn for you guys. Wheel of Fortune is basically saying you're seeing a lot of new, exciting things come in, literally the card of fortune. But just know too, with the Wheel of Fortune, it's almost like you feel like you're complete, like it's done, but it's also a message of, hey, there's still some more that can be learned here. Like, you still need to gather your options, you need to sort through it, you need to kind of make decisions. Don't jump into things too quickly. There's still more research to be done. So let's ask how this is actually going to show up. Ooh, 9 of Coins. All right, no more swords. Swords are not bad, but it seems like the first quarter of the year is going to be very like mental stuff that's going on. And then in April, this is so perfect. So 9 of Coins, this is basically talking about material, practical things in life. So finances, money, job, all of that good stuff. And this is about feeling very prosperous, feeling like you're almost there, like you almost have all of those things. That's the number 9. But again, with that Wheel of Fortune card, it's like you're not quite there yet. You feel like you're almost there, but there's still some things that need to be hashed out or some things that need to be figured out. And what you can do is you can actually pull out your own deck. And for each of these piles, pull a third card. That's what you're supposed to do with this, but I didn't want to do so many cards because I'm going to do even more after this. And you can basically ask, okay, how do I work with this energy? So that's actually the third card of this spread. So you can go ahead and do that for each of these. You can pause and ask. All right. And so what is this? May. So we are now in May, and we have the Chariot, and my phone is not silenced. Oh my gosh. Such an unprofessional. Okay. So the Chariot card is all about movement, but it's also about, checking that you're going the right direction. I think that's what some people forget about this card, is it's always checking your course, making sure that you're heading in the right direction, that you're not going to crash into the rocks, you're not going to crash into land, you're setting a course and making sure that you're sticking to it. So let's ask how this will manifest, and I pulled the Eight of Swords. I feel like you guys it almost feels like self-doubt of like you guys get a taste of something better, something more exciting, and then you kind of get into this self-doubt a little bit more with this Eight of Swords, and I think it'll be a lot easier for you if you're doing this course check. Like, are you still going in the right direction, or are you going to fall back into this self-sabotage, this, kind of mental questioning of yourself? So yeah, I feel like this is a little bit of overwhelm. I think you got a little excited in May, and then you're feeling like, oh my gosh, can I keep doing this? And as long as you're coming back to your intention, like, what am I trying to do? I'm not trying to overwhelm myself. Like, this is definitely energy of trying not to burn yourself out all the time. I feel like you guys struggle a lot with that. And I feel like this year is going to be like pushing yourself to the edge, but then reining yourself back in and being like, no, I can do it. I can do it. January, February, June. Judgment. I feel like I think I agree with what I said earlier of like the second quarter of the year, so this will be like summer. I really feel, or April into summer, it feels like this is kind of the build up to a change. And I feel like by the end of the June, you're going to see that change. Because the Judgment card is basically coming in and saying, hey, you're being given a second chance. That's how I like to read this card. And it's like he's looking at this sun and he's like, oh, I have a second chance again. Something is going to be allowed to be revived or given a second life. And so let's see what that is, how it's going to manifest. Kind of in like a mundane, everyday kind of way. And so that's why you use the pip cards for the second card. Seven of Wands. I knew it was going to be Wands. So we're coming back to, again, this like mental health. Honestly, I love this card. He just totally feels like he's on top of his energy. He's like, I can handle it. Look at the shift from this energy to this energy. You're really on top of like, no, I'm not going to let these thoughts kind of keep me, like hold me back. I feel like he's kind of hammering these stakes into the rock and he's like, I've got total control over this. And I think that's why you're feeling like you have this second wind, second chance at I don't know, it feels like just coming back to your mental health. And in case I'm not being clear, like really how I'm seeing this is like no matter what is going on in your life next year, I feel like it's all up to how you approach it mentally. If you're constantly stressed, self-doubting, worried or fear-mongering, or even just like attracting lack because you're stuck in lack, like that's what this feels like. I feel like that's the biggest struggle for you next year. It doesn't matter, like I feel like that's most important. And, if you're worried about, oh, well, what about my money? What about, any of these other things? It's saying at the core of it, it's how you handle your emotions, these thoughts that come through, and kind of like your lack mentality. That's so perfect. So for July, this is like joy, hope, optimism. I feel like this is again that real turn of energy where you're just like, July is the month for you because you're feeling just totally connected, totally in a zone of like, I feel hopeful about life. I'm looking forward to life again. And so let's see how this manifests day to day. You guys in the swords. I swear I shuffled these. Four of Swords. And I know this is a scary image, but this card, I'm kind of reading it the traditional way. And the Four of Swords is definitely about stability. So I think this card is about stability. I think where there is some negativity in this card, this is just kind of this artist's rendering of it, but I just looked at the original Four of Swords, and it might be a little bit of like, headstrong energy of like, I got this, to a point where you might like hurt others. Like you might not actually recognize that the way you accomplish this might be hurting the other people around you is kind of how I'm reading it. So it's like you're going to be feeling good, but there might be something that bites you in the butt later because of how you're sort of approaching this. So maybe this is just a message of being mindful moving forward. So let's get into August. Ooh, I love this. So the Fool card is really about kind of going back to square one. Really actually feeling like you are starting a new adventure. There is sometimes this air of like naivety, but it's actually a good version of it. I mean, at least for you guys, that's what I'm feeling, is it's not like, oh, don't be a fool in a kind of like negative, or like a warning. It feels more like, oh, fresh energy. I'm not going to let whatever's happened in the past bother me. I actually feel like this month is going to be really good for you, more so than July was. So let's see how it's going to manifest for you. 9 of Swords. Gosh, this year is just all about mental stuff for you. And so 9 of Swords to me is saying like, you're really feeling on top of, I feel like what this is you're actually coming back to your mental health. Maybe there was a little bit of repercussions that happened in July, but you're like, you know what? No, I have a new, fresh perspective on what I need to take care of myself. It's so interesting. I wonder if you guys will, if something will come out of this, because I literally feel like these are some of the people that might have gotten hurt around you, but at the same time, there's kind of this message of, but you needed that. You needed to take care of yourself mentally, and that's okay. It's kind of like, it feels like an up-leveling, like you're tapping into this energy of, no, I need to demand that I take care of myself in this way from here on out, and that's okay. But it almost feels like maybe you might lose some people. And I would just pay attention and make sure you're not losing the wrong type of people. And when I say that, people who are kind and loving to you, who really have your back. But I wouldn't be surprised if, because you start setting more demands on your mental health and like what you are okay with or not okay with, that some people might fall away because they can't match that energy. All right. September. Temperance, I love this card because it's basically talking about being pressed, being forced, being tempered, kind of like in a blacksmith sort of way, where your life has been pushing you, hardening you, shaping you into something new, but it's something better, and you're being changed at a core level, kind of like, think about a diamond being pressed harder and harder. And this is kind of the energy for September, and I kind of feel like you're going to be coming out of just this phase. Like, I'm really reading your guys' like cards like 3, 3, 3, and 3. Feels like very, this is one lesson, that's a lesson, that's a lesson. We'll see what we get to with the rest of the year, but with Temperance, it feels like, I kind of feel like this whole journey comes to a close right here with your mental health. You've accepted, you've implemented these new things that you're like, okay, this is what I demand for myself now, and this is like this new version of you where you're totally on top of your mental health game. But let's still see how this will show up mundanely. I shouldn't say mundanely as much as like everyday, how does it show up kind of in everyday life? Two of Coins. Ooh, I think this is all going to affect your money, which is kind of what you're wondering about, because this is becoming a little bit more stable when it comes to earthly matters. Practical stuff, money, finances, job. I actually feel like the mental health things and kind of getting on top of this energy that we were talking about of caring for yourself and your thoughts first is going to affect how you come about making money. Because if you feel crappy about yourself, if you're sabotaging yourself, if you're doubting yourself, it's a lot harder to, come show up to a job, focus on any of that, and feel like you can do it. Like, I feel like this energy that you're fighting this year is just the energy of, like, self-confidence. And I will say too, guys, like, if you don't want to wait around until September to fix this, start on it now. You have the ability to change how quickly this happens or how it happens. You could ignore it all and it might change it completely as well. But this is just kind of like a prescription, hey, this is what's coming up, a projection, I should say, and how can we deal with this energy? So Two of Coins, I'm definitely getting that. It's going to give you kind of a new start of like, oh, how should I look at my money, finances, and how can I make that better? Death. Interesting. Okay. I'm already feeling like this is going to be a death in relation to money and practical stuff, but let me pull an additional card and see how it's going to show up. So the death card really is about, not a literal death for those of you who are new to tarot or any of that. It's literally just an ending of a cycle. And I kind of feel like the ending of a cycle that's being brought about with like your mental attitude is actually, I knew it, is going to bring a new rebirth to how you address your practical, physical, earthly concerns. Coins, that's kind of Pentacles, which is all about money, jobs, kind of where we are starting here. So we're going from the Two of Coins to the Three of Coins, and you're starting to find more harmony in, okay, how do I approach this aspect of my life? Maybe if you felt like up to this point you haven't really known what you're going to do in as far as like work or finances, you're starting to get a lot better of a handle on it. And the threes are kind of about, a strong, firm foundation. So I think this month you might be going back and forth with still letting go of some of this old stuff. It's going to keep coming back up, but the quicker you can kind of accept that, hey, I'm still have to prioritize my mental health, all these things that I've figured out, then you're going to be able to tune into, or I should say tap into, this energy of taking care of your finances a lot easier. So this was November. Sorry, I don't know if I said that was October, but that's October. Ooh, November, and now we're coming back to our intuition again. And the moon can also be about illusions or deceptions, like these little, I think they're foxes or maybe pandas. This panda is down here looking at this water. He might think this is the actual moon, but it is an illusion because the moon is in the water, but he is not aware of that because he's not looking up at this moon. And so let's see, before I go any further with that, how that's going to show up. Two of Cups. Okay. So this is definitely about emotions. So I think you in November might come back to struggling with dealing with all of the emotions around this year and what's been going on. And I don't want to say it so much in a negative way, because this could really go one of two ways. You could really be connecting subconsciously, intuitively with that side of yourself that really, what am I trying to say? It's about just connecting and understanding your emotions in a new way. Sorry, I'm just reading. I'm trying to figure out this card. I think it's so cool that there's two men or two male figures on here that are being very loving. This is a new deck to me, and I haven't even pulled this card. It's kind of cool. And the Two of Cups, again, there's a lot of like twos in your reading, which is anytime twos show up, it's about balance, it's about stability. So you're trying to balance out these emotions in your life for some reason in November. And the more you can lean into using your intuition, tapping into your subconscious, honestly, I just feel like at the core of this is just the basic psychology of like understanding your emotions and letting them come to you and not ignoring them. And then I think when you do that, you avoid the opposite, which is kind of that illusion, you know, of trying to ignore your emotions or trying to put on a face or a mask for other people because you're not tapping into your emotions. I hope that makes sense. I feel like November is a pretty big like shift energy-wise. I feel like this is starting something new. Let's see what December looks like. The sun! Oh my gosh, you have the moon and then the sun. It feels like November and December of your year almost feel like they're starting you on the next year. Like I feel like that energy is leading into 2023. We'll have to check in again when we do another reading next year. But let's see how the sun manifests day to day for you. And the sun is all about celebration, joy, like success. This is such a great like card to end your year on. Five of Coins. The Five of Coins to me really feels like it feels like, unfortunately, kind of like going back to the struggle of like money, stability, finances. I feel like your emotions might have thrown you off a little bit. And because of that, you're kind of having to feel like you're on rocky footing as far as it goes with your practical financial stuff. I honestly don't feel like it's because of like anything major. Like I feel like you might just have decided to make like a change and you're kind of having to figure out, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to approach this? But it really feels like at least by the end of the year, you're going to have been on top of like the mental stuff. And now it's almost starting this new chapter of like, okay, how can I understand that all of that mental stuff relates to my practical world? And I have to kind of channel that energy of I can do it, and my thoughts, you know, affect my reality, so I need to keep those positive thoughts moving into the next year. Because I really feel like, you know, don't read this as, you know, your life ends here. There's more months to follow. And it feels like kind of in this area, you're starting a new, November, December, it feels like you're kind of starting a new chapter. But it's interesting because of the sun, it still feels like you're feeling successful. You know, things are still good. You're still having a ton of fun. There's a lot of joy. You know, you might just have to come back and revisit, okay, where in my life, stability-wise, financial, you know, job-wise, do I need to kind of reassess? My camera keeps moving. Okay. So what I would do from here again is I would pull another card for each of these piles and ask, how can I work with this energy? So then you actually have some advice here. But I am going to use the card that we originally pulled of kind of like, hey, what is the overall advice? How do we dance with all of this energy? And we have the last quarter moon in Cancer. Take a breather. This makes so much sense. I think in all of these moments where you're feeling like you're struggling, I think your innate reaction is to maybe fight it or to ignore it. And this year is all about setting the foundation of like, what do I do when I'm panicking? What do I do when I feel like I'm in a crisis that can be healthy and productive? And Cancer is all about tuning into your emotions as well. So this is very important. And let me pull the book from this deck. This is the Moonology Manifestation Oracle cards. I would highly recommend getting these, especially for the next year. I'm going to be using the Moonology journal as well, and you can keep track of your year as it goes on. But the cool thing about these cards is that they give you more information Oh, perfect. So last quarter moons as well also signify like things coming to a close. So I really feel like you're closing out this chapter by the end of the year. Honestly, by like September, October, I actually feel like you're going to really feel like you've closed out this chapter of, it really just to me feels like what are the things that you tell yourself in your mind. It's kind of like the lack mentality versus abundance mentality. So I'm just going to read this from the book. You need to stop and revive. Emotional fatigue is as dangerous as physical fatigue if it becomes long-term. See the beauty in life to refresh your heart. It says you can use these crystals: Amazonite, blue apatite, rose quartz, red jade, moonstone, or jasper. Sometimes situations start with much promise and then get fatigued or fizzle out. This is normal. If a situation is dragging on and everyone is becoming far too sensitive, it might be time to take a breather. Is this still what you want? If a situation is slipping away from you, it could be due to self-doubt or because too many people are trying to get their own way. If you're struggling to find a balance with your life, it may be time to show your feelings. So that might just be some overall energy, some advice for dealing with this next year. To me, it feels like the more emotional intelligence you can have, the more you can connect and understand your emotions and not hide from them and feel them and understand how to channel them in a proper way. I think this year is going to be really easy for you. I shouldn't say easy as much as, it'll make all of this not seem as problematic. Now, some of you asked me on our live night, because I asked, what else did you want to know about this upcoming year? And a lot of you wanted to know about just COVID and like, hey, how is this going to continue to affect my year? Because I don't know about you guys, but it really felt like to me that 2020 and 2021 were the same year. And so I just wanted to ask for pile number 1, what can you guys expect? How will it affect you guys, if at all? Interesting. I think that's definitely a good sign. So this card, this is the 3 of Pentacles, and this is, it might affect your practical day-to-day life, makes sense, but it actually feels like almost the opposite of what it's been, because this card is the card of harmony and literally coming together with other people. I'm taking that as a really good sign that maybe you'll be able to work more with other people in person. Obviously, I could be wrong. Do this up to your own safety level that you're comfortable with. There could be a lot of people in here that this resonates for, but, if this doesn't make sense for where you are or where you're living, this card might not be for you. I'm just going to pull one other card on how this might, oh my gosh, okay. I was doubting that card, which is why I pulled this one, and it's literally like the same card. Again, 3, harmony, bringing people in. These people are literally celebrating. I actually think that you're going to see a pretty significant change next year as far as being literally around other people more. And the fact that they're both 3s, that to me says maybe March, maybe you'll start to see that shift. Like, I feel like at the latest March. Again, please use your own caution. I am a huge supporter of vaccines and being safe. Do not put anyone in danger or yourself. That is not what we want to do here. And the next question I wanted to ask is, okay, for the whole year of 2022, if you want to focus on manifesting, what should you be doing? What is that advice? Ooh, and it's all about playing by the book. So to me, this card is basically saying, like, don't do anything like risky or drastic or crazy. Like, just follow the steps, If you need more money, put in job applications. Don't do something like completely abandon your life and move to the other side of town. Like, I mean, I don't want to discourage that if you're thinking about that, but by the book energy is literally about following the rules, following the leader, doing kind of what society expects you to do. And don't think of this in a negative way as much as like, hey, there's a structure here, and if you stick to the structure, it's going to be a lot easier for you than if you're just all over the place. I feel like you're going to have a lot going on emotionally. So sometimes showing up, doing the day-to-day stuff as you should. This could even be about like your mental health or your physical health, showing up, doing the exercise, doing the workouts, and just putting in the time to do it is actually going to help you manifest the things that you want. And when I say manifest, I don't mean like, oh, how do I manifest a car? But it's like, how do you tune into, abundance and just kind of feeling like you have all your needs and wants met? I keep bumping my camera. Sorry, guys. So buy the book. Yes. Again, I feel like if you're wanting to manifest something, it's about simply just following the course that's laid out in front of you. Don't do anything silly or drastic or different or spontaneous. Again, it doesn't mean there's not room for that, but the structure is there to help you. And then as far as like, okay, any challenges that come up for 2022, how can we handle that? Pile number 1. Soulmates. Honestly, I love this card because I think of it as leaning on the people around you. You might not have a romantic relationship necessarily, but this is saying that you have people in your life that are here to support you. And if you need to lean on them for help, absolutely do so. And I do think that that's important when you're struggling with, mental health or just your emotions. It can be really helpful to talk to people and, vent or just express how you're feeling so you can process those thoughts more. I'm even getting, for some of you though, if you feel like that's not an option and you really need it this year, especially in this month, definitely reach out to maybe a therapist or a professional if you really are struggling. So this last card, I am just basically asking, what are the major lessons for you in 2022? Child of the cosmos, the intelligence of the universe lies within you. These are the Starseed Oracle cards, and they can be a little bit woo-woo, but really how I read these cards are, you have all the resources within you. And so even though it's talking about stars and cosmos, like I really feel like this is your intuition and understanding what you need at any moment of next year is as simple as going within. Because you'll be able to tap into that energy and basically, those messages, those emotions, that energy that you need to tap into to navigate your year is, it's intuitive, it's divinely guided. I feel like even if you're not a spiritual person, what this card is basically saying is you have people looking out for you and giving you messages. And whether you decide to look inwards or outwards, you have the knowledge and the ability to connect at any time to yourself and really understand what you're going through and make your own decisions. Like, I feel like if you are constantly looking to other people in your life, they're probably not going to give you those messages. And this year is all about that self-reliance. It's about understanding I have everything I need, mentally, emotionally, to take care of everything. This is such like a big mental year for you guys. And I think that the big lesson you'll come back to is I have everything I need inside me to handle anything. And as soon as you understand that, it's almost like your power to manifest, your power to connect with other people. It's almost like you can see a new side of everyone. You're able to see, oh my gosh, I can manifest things so easily. It's all about my mindset. And if my mindset is the one clouding me, then I'm not going to be able to achieve any of my goals. But as soon as I understand that my emotions are everything, and when I can control those and kind of sit in positivity and let those emotions flow and not let the bad ones, bother me too much and turn them into like, a healthy channel, I really feel like you're going to tap into your ability to manifest anything. And honestly, I feel like that's where this is sort of leading into the next year, where you're really going to have to use these lessons to manifest that stability, financial job, all of that, that I feel like will be next. But it feels like this is more important. So this lesson has to be first, of understanding that your own intelligence, that the universe's intelligence lies within you, and you can connect with that and connect with any answer at any time by just going within and using your intuition. All right, pile number 1. What a year. That is such a crazy spread that I did, and I didn't even do it to its fullest. So if you want, I have all the decks that I used in the links down below. Feel free to come back to this reading anytime. Feel free to come back to it at the start of every month or the end of every month and let me know kind of how it resonated or how it turned out for you. I'd be super interested. And yeah, guys, remember to give me a big thumbs up if you liked this video, and do know that I am still doing personal private readings, and you can book those through my website. Awesome. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your year and 2022. Bye. Alrighty, pile number 2. Welcome to your reading. And so I am using the Wheel of the Year tarot spread. So traditionally, this is 12 cards that are supposed to be in a circle, but I could not fit them. But if you want to do this spread for yourself, you can also do it for like the past year, or you can spread it over any 12 months that you want. You could do like, the last 6 months and then the future 6 months. So this is just a cool spread to kind of get an understanding, heck, maybe of even your past year. So we're going to start with January, and we kind of go across this way. So this is July, ending in December. So we are going to get the overall energy that you will have for each month. So we are starting off January with the Death card. Now, do not get too freaked out by that. The Death card, honestly, I see as basically just a sign of rebirth, of renewal, something dying so that you can invite some new energy in. So what I'm going to do with each of these piles is I'm going to add a card to basically ask how this is going to show up, so we have just some additional information. And so I'm going to just pull from the pip cards and ask, how is this going to show up? All right. So this is definitely going to be something around your stability, your practical needs here on this earthly plane. So that can be job, finances. The 5 of Coins, this is actually the little match girl. And this card is kind of talking about there might be some struggle in that arena of your life. But the great thing about the Death card is it's saying it's coming to an end. The struggle is coming to an end. And this invites in energy to start fresh and to have something new happen, especially around finances, work, money, all of the practical earthly matters that we kind of worry about day to day. So let's jump into February. February, we have the Hanged Man. So with these cards, just know that these are a projection. You can change the outcome of this. You have the ultimate free will. You can take this information and say, you know what, I want a different outcome. How can I make it better? So in the month of February, you're definitely being forced to look at something from a new perspective. This might be because of what you just went through of, you're basically starting a new chapter. I actually feel like this is a good energy to be in because you're basically looking at things literally from a new angle. So let's see how this is going to show up. Oh, and we have the 5 of Wands. I'm saying, because 5 energy is usually the energy of like challenge and change. And like these people are all kind of like fighting each other. And how this might show up for you is the 5 of Wands is how I read it is basically, there might be a lot of challenges with trying to figure out what you're passionate about, like what you want to do, what direction you're going to go in. Like I feel like a lot of people in this period might struggle with, should I move? Should I change jobs? It's really like self-defining actions that you feel like you have to make. So you might be a little bit thrown off on like what you want to do with your life, especially coming out of this energy. Or maybe just on a smaller scale, what to do within your job or just having a struggle there. But if you're being forced to look at it from a new perspective, this is good energy to be in, because the quicker you embrace that and sort of look at things from a new perspective and say, hey, how can we approach this differently and not fight with it, then you might be able to move through that energy a lot quicker. Gosh, pile number 2. I feel like these first 3 months you're going to be hit with like a lot of lessons really quick, but the end goal is that you've just like ascended into like a very quick version of like, this is going to get dealt with. This energy is not going to bother me anymore. Whereas like pile number 1, I felt like it kind of took them the whole year to kind of work through things. You guys are like, I'm going to get this out of the way and figure it out. Because the Temperance card is about like being forced, being under pressure, being forced to deal with things that maybe aren't the most pleasant, but because of it, you come out of it stronger. Think about tempering when it comes to like blacksmithing terms. You're tempering something to literally change its physical like compensation. Oh my gosh, I've been reading for too long. You guys get what I mean. And basically this is saying, hey, you're going to come out of this a new person. You're going to be changed at just like a whole new level. This isn't just like a small day-to-day change. This is something that changes who you are on a long-term basis. And how this is going to show up kind of on a more like mundane level, which is what the second cards I'm pulling are. 3 of Wands. I think this is a little bit of like you're putting in the hard work. You've made the realizations of what you need to do. And so now you're kind of climbing up this ladder. It's scary. It's a long way to the top, but this is what you have to do to kind of reach that end goal. This looks like Hogwarts, by the way. Doesn't it? But the 3 is really about harmony and kind of like a firm structure. So to me, this is sort of saying that through this temperance, you are finding a way to find like a really firm foundation, and you're getting a much better sense of like, oh, this is what I want to do. This is what excites me. This is what lights me up, and I'm going to start working on it. And because of that, you've kind of moved and learned the last bit of the lessons that you've been working on. Honestly, I feel like this might have been energy left over from 2022. And you're just kind of wrapping up that energy. Let's jump into April. Yes. So April, we have the Star. And the Star is all about joy, optimism, hope. She's looking up at the stars. I love this card because it's basically like dreams and wishes sort of fulfilled in some way because you're so optimistic and hopeful. So really, I'm seeing this as kind of like, there was a death of something in your life, probably in relation to like job, money, work, something that you really just knew was not working. And then you are kind of thrown into, okay, now what excites me? What gets me passionate? Like, what do I actually want to do? And then as soon as you figure that out, you just feel so much more in tune with your joy again. So let's see how this manifests this month. Ooh, 7 of Swords. Ooh, and I think it's because you have gotten on top of your mental stability, especially in the arena of like mental health. Really, I'm reading this as like staying on top of your mental health and like the struggles that you might have around that. When I say mental health, it's more like the emotions that come up, your self-sabotaging behaviors, kind of how you address problems in life, especially when you're just kind of starting this new track of energy. You can have a lot of self-doubt, you can get discouraged. But a lot of it is saying that you're able to kind of focus on the hope and the optimism because you're so much on top of your own mental health. Like you've got I know that card doesn't look like that, but I'm reading the traditional tarot as far as like the names, not necessarily the artwork. I feel like if anything, some of you might struggle with this in this month. You might feel like, oh my gosh, everything is so overwhelming. But just remember, at the core of it, you need to be optimistic. You need to have the hope and the vision of what it will be, even though it's not there yet. So now we are into May, and we have the Hierophant. And I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. But the Hierophant is basically like a spiritual teacher. or maybe not even someone spiritual, but this is kind of someone who is above you that has more access and more knowledge about things than you do. So this month might be a month where you have to reach out and ask for help, or just get information or education from somebody who knows more than you. I just feel like this is a very career focused year so far. Or maybe not even career as much as just job and stability. So maybe this person is going to come help with some of the anxieties that you might have had in the previous month. So let's see how this turns up. Oh, I love it. Ace of Swords. So this card is basically saying you are going to get ideas plopped into your head out of nowhere. It probably is coming from a more spiritual source, but this is ideas and information that you don't have to work for. These are things that sort of the universe just gives you. So like Ace versus 10 of Swords. 10 of Swords is something you have to achieve and work towards, whereas the Ace is no, it's just kind of magically gifted to you out of nowhere. So actually, I feel like this month might be super helpful, because it's almost like all these things that you might have needed help with on your path so far are kind of going to fall into your lap. So halfway through the year now, and we are in June. Oh, love it. Man. The difference from January to June, you guys are just on top of the world by June. Literally, I promise I didn't even mean to make that pun. So the World card is about coming full circle. This is about feeling divinely connected. All your needs and wants are met on some level. I don't want to promise that your life is going to be forever better, but there's this feeling of, wow, I've really completed a cycle, and now I'm ready for the next chapter of my life. Let's see how this manifests. I'm curious if it's about money or something else. 10 of Swords. So this is actually how this is manifesting, is again coming back to your mental health. And this is those self-sabotaging thoughts. So although this card is scary because of the way that I pulled this, this is basically saying you're on top of those self-sabotaging thoughts. You're on top of, you know what, I'm no longer going to stab myself anymore. I'm not going to throw myself under the bus anymore. I'm on top of, how I need to take care of things, how I need to take care of myself, and understand that, my thoughts create my reality, and therefore you're on top of it, and you are not letting those little things bother you as much as they did in the new year. And so you're really feeling successful and on top of the world because of it. And I totally understand this energy, because sometimes you could have nothing, but because you understand what hope, looks like, and what abundance feels like, even when you don't have it, you can really feel like you can achieve anything. And that's, I think, where you're going to be in June. So moving into July, you guys, I'm loving this year for you. So the Emperor is very much about, you have that abundance that I was just talking about, but now you kind of need to not necessarily rein it in as much as put boundaries around it. I loved the way that my tarot teacher described this card. She talked about there's this beautiful garden that's growing with the Empress card, which is the card that's before this one. And the garden is abundant and overwhelming and everything's growing, but the Emperor is the one who comes in and makes it practical and puts up fences and makes sure that it's trimmed and stuff like that. So it's the energy of you're being smart with your abundance. You're setting up the boundaries and being very practical with it. So let's see how this manifests for you. You guys, 10 of Coins. I don't mean to be so dramatic, but I'm getting excited. The 10 of Coins is literally, it's like that completion we were talking about. The 10s are about hard-earned work paying off. This old guy slash dog, he's sitting back, he's enjoying his cigar, opium, I don't know. And he's getting a massage, and he's got all of his kids around him, and they're all well provided for. The 10 of Coins is basically saying the work that you were stressed out about, that you put in all this work for, that you worked on your mental attitude about, is finally paying off. And now it's just about a matter of being smart with it and, not sabotaging it. Again, it's that emperor vibe of like, I manifested this and now I'm going to maintain it and keep it. Oh, I love that. Okay. And then we have in August, the moon. And before I even read this card, I want to see how it's going to manifest. Six of Cups. I had a feeling this is where this was going. So I was going to say, I feel like all of this is almost feeling too good to be true. So in August, right? June, July, August. Yeah. In August, you're going to feel like, almost like this feeling of, this is too good to be true. This is almost too easy. Or maybe for some of you, if it didn't quite manifest exactly how you wanted it to, it's like, gosh dang it, like, why did it turn out this way? It's almost like sometimes this card is about illusions and deceptions, and how it's going to kind of appear is in your emotions and in your heart. And the Six of Cups is really about like equal give and take. And see how these people are like sharing, and one person is above, implying that, somebody might not have as much as somebody else. This is making sure that all areas of your life are balanced. Are you not receiving as much as you should be, or as much as you're taking? Or that's the same thing. Are you receiving as much as you're giving, or vice versa? And honestly, I feel like how this card mostly shows up for people is that they're putting in a lot of the work and then they're not taking care of themselves. So this can be a very self-reflective card. And I think in relation to the moon, it's almost like this energy of, because there's not an equal balance going on, maybe you're not taking care of yourself, maybe you're overworking from this. I feel like it can manifest in so many different ways for you, but the essential thing here is to find balance and to understand that with the moon, it's all about tapping into your emotions and your intuition. And instead of, ignoring the emotions that are coming up, it's feeling through them, or, connecting to your spirit guides and getting information. Because what we want to avoid here, and this is kind of the big thing, is we want to avoid imbalance, either in yourself or the people around you, or how you treat the other people around you. And we want to avoid not, wearing a mask, and we want to avoid wearing a mask in front of people. That's kind of what the moon card is. We don't want to be deceptive to the other people around us, because we're not quite sure what we want ourselves. So this is about being transparent and fair, I would say. So then we get into September, June, July, August. I can't count, you guys. I'm worried I screwed up in the first pile on my months. September, Justice. I love it. Interesting. So I feel like this Justice card is kind of a product of this over here. And so I feel like it can happen one of two ways. If you're kind of working on the advice from right here, this is going to be a lot easier. It's almost like justice is served, you are all set because you've been taking care of yourself equally. Or if it's the opposite and you kind of didn't listen to this advice and there's not an equal give and take, it's like the karma almost will come back to you and it might result in burnout. Or if this actually is dealing with somebody else, like maybe you weren't fair to somebody else, maybe that comes back to bite you in the butt in some sort of way. But let's see how this manifests in the day-to-day. Ooh, interesting. 4 of Wands. I'm kind of leaning more towards like relationships specifically with these 2 ones. It's almost like a big shift from like money into relationships. And I kind of feel like that's how life is sometimes. We feel like we've crossed one thing off our list and then the next thing that needs fixing kind of comes up. The 4 of Wands is definitely about like stability, especially around things we love doing. The fact that there's 2 people in a relationship on here, I'm going to also categorize that here, even though it's not necessarily part of Wands. Wands energy is like the things that get you fired up, the things that you light you up, the things that you're passionate about, that drive you to be who you are. And I feel like if you kind of move out of this and, everything's fair, you're going to be in this really good mode of like celebration, feeling stable, especially with like the people in your life, or it could just be your relationship with yourself. And then it might impact you to really tune into, hey, what is it that I want to do again? And really reconnect to that energy that we had to find in the first part of the year. Essentially, what I'm feeling like with this card is that if you're not following this month, I should say, if you're not following this advice, it could kind of turn into relationship problems. Like what it feels like to me is maybe you were overworking, really focusing on yourself. Maybe you weren't exactly taking care of the relationships around you, and now is kind of like the repercussions of that. But just know that with all of this, again, you have that free will. You can change that. So this year might be, or this month might just be like a little bit of cleaning up of like, oh crap, forgot about that relationship, kind of neglected it. Now I need to give it some love. All right, so let's move into October. Yes, I feel like this is going to be a good year. Like I feel like there's a few things that throw you off, but I feel like you guys are really good at like getting back on top of things. So the High Priestess, this is somebody who's really in touch with their intuition, really using that intuition to benefit themselves and move forward in life. So let's find out how that manifests on a day-to-day level for the month of October. Ooh, 8 of Wands. You guys have a lot of Wands energy this year. So this year might be filled with a lot of like passion projects or things that really kind of change who you are and how you define yourself. And the 8 of Wands, I know this card. So this card is kind of like crazy energy, basically. I love my tarot teacher's description of this. She basically said, all these wands are flying everywhere. You have no idea where they're coming from. You have no idea where they're going to land. It's just chaos. And so there might be a lot of chaos, especially around the things that you're excited about. Honestly, I feel like this is a good thing. I feel like this is the energy of like, you're so excited about so many projects and you're just like doing so many things at once, and maybe it's not the most organized. It's a little chaotic. But because you're following your intuition, and when you follow that intuition, I think this will be a good month. I feel like if you're not following that intuition, it might lean into more of the negative chaos of that side. But if you're following your intuition and just starting a bunch of projects, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what your October looked like for you. All right, and then we get into November. Oh, you guys, I want pile number 2. I should have asked which pile was mine. So the Sun is all about celebration, success. I feel like when I look at this energy, I feel like it's a build up, build up, build up. Oh, slight hiccup, but continuation of the build up. I want to see where December's going, but let's see what these celebrations look like. Oh, 2 of Cups. Honestly, I feel like this, intuitively what I'm getting is this is that balance. This is the balance of your relationships as well as like your passions. And because you're giving both the equal amount of energy and time, you're seeing a lot of success. It's like you're balancing all of those things that you weren't maybe doing the best at the beginning of the year with, and you're on top of your mental health, what you need. You're understanding that, oh my, the things I'm excited about, I just have to work towards, but I can manifest them. And I also have to nurture my relationships at the same time. And this perfect balance just makes your heart feel full. You feel accomplished with a lot that's going on. I feel like this is more of a feeling of success. But I don't know, the Sun, you could even have these big like celebrations or big, something big in your life at that time. I mean, heck, this could, with the imagery here, it could even be like a wedding. All right, and then, beautiful, the Empress. Ooh, that's interesting. So the Empress is like the counterpart to the Emperor over here. I feel like that's significant somehow. But again, Empress, abundance. You're ending off the year with this abundance. Gosh, I love how this year's gonna pan out for you guys. And so basically the Empress is, yeah, here's her garden. She's abundant. She's attracting everything she wants and needs. She's got all of her needs cared for. But let's see how this actually shows up day to day. 6 of Wands. Gosh, you guys are just on top of like your passions, what you're excited about. I feel like this is very much probably for some of you related to your career. You've been working on your career. You enjoy doing it. You love doing it. And because of it, you're just ending the year in such a fulfilled place. Because the 6 of Wands is basically this woman who's just like so secure, so stable, so powerful, and happy with where she's at. At least that's how I'm reading the imagery of this card. What a way to end the year. I absolutely love this. So let me go into, this was the card that we pulled at the beginning of the pile, and this is basically asking for your overall advice for the year. And we have the last quarter moon in Aquarius. Reflect on your priorities. And the last quarter moon is all about closures. Honestly though, I feel like this closure for you is happening within the first third, maybe half of the year. And then I feel like you're almost having like two, you're coming to another closure or completion of something. This doesn't mean you're never going to have any problems ever again in terms of your mental health or money. It's just you've learned a major lesson that it's so stuck now, you're not going to have to relearn it. You're not going to struggle with it in the same way that you always have. Reflecting on your priorities, I think this makes so much sense because it does seem like there's a few distractions that come up. There's the distraction of money at first, distraction of like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling overwhelmed, mental stuff. Distraction of like, oh yeah, I need to have those relationships checked. And I feel like this year is going to be about understanding that balance and like remembering, oh yeah, everything has to kind of have equal priority in my life. And also I feel like this is going to ask you, hey, what is not a priority? What do you need to take off your list that is no longer important? And I'm just going to read from the book here because this is a new deck to me, which I absolutely love. It's the Moonology Manifestation Oracle cards. And they have all sorts of like suggestions of how to manifest in this book. So drawing this card suggests that this year is about being more grounded and working out what really matters to you. Perfect. Once you're clear on your priorities, you can start to allot time, energy, and focus to them. If you want to create something solid, it takes a mix of good ideas and practical work. The most important thing to work out now is what's really important to you and whether you're living your life in accordance with that. I think that, again, is that wand energy. If not, this card is a nudge to make changes so you can achieve what you want. Crystals you can work with for next year: hematite, bloodstone, orange calcite, jasper, blue apatite, or amethyst. And on my live nights, I asked you guys what you wanted to know about your upcoming year. And a lot of people actually wanted to know how the pandemic or, the leftovers, the energy of the pandemic is still going to affect your year, if at all, next year. So I'm just going to ask for pile 2, what is the rest of this COVID pandemic going to look like for your year? I'm loving this question. Pile number 1 got similar energy. Let's see. This is just making me so happy because the COVID thing has made me a little sad as well. And these cards are, this one, literally about celebrations. Like there's a ton of people here celebrating together. This is such a happy, bright card. This is the 4 of Wands in the traditional tarot. And then this is the 6 of Wands in traditional tarot. And I just feel like my guides are even saying, add it up. 4 and 6 makes 10, which makes 1. 10 is coming to a completion. 1 is new beginnings. I'm kind of feeling like sometime this year, and I'm trying not to let pile number 1's judge kind of this reading, but sometime this year it is going to feel for you guys like it's back to normal. Like I wasn't using that term with everyone else in pile 1, but it almost feels like because you're around other people more, it feels like it's back to normal. Now, will that be because it's back to normal? Absolutely not. We're living with a whole new disease that we have to deal with. But I think this is absolutely a good sign for you guys. maybe it happens sometimes between the 4th and the 6th month. So maybe that's summer for you guys. Again, I'll say this, I said this with pile 1, trust your own judgment. Everyone lives in different corners of the planet, so everyone is going to have different access to resources. So please be safe and use your best judgment here. Although the majority of the people watching this might have this as their advice, there could be 1 or 2 people that this is definitely not for. So use your intuition when it comes to that. The next thing I wanted to ask was just as a whole for 2022, if you want to manifest anything, if you want to attract anything in your life, how do you do that? And this card, Serendipity, is all about paying attention to the signs. I love that. This is basically saying that the universe is going to give you a lot of favors this year. You just have to be paying attention to them. And then when they come, it's like seeing them, accepting them, thanking the universe, thanking your guides. Because a lot of it is going to seem very magical. And I'm getting that it's because of perspective, because the last couple of years for you have been so much not like this, that it's almost going to seem magical in the way that things can manifest so easily for you this year. That doesn't mean you can't do it without any effort. You definitely are going to have to put some in. And then the next question I wanted to ask was, if you have any challenges over this year, how can you sort of deal with that, manage that? And I got the Tribe. And I did pull this in reverse at first, which I'm not reading hardly any of these reversed. But to me, this says an additional little tidbit here of some of you probably need to clean up your tribe and make sure that the people around you are in support of this life that you want to create and want to have. And the Tribe card is basically saying during any of the challenging moments in your life, connect with other people, come back to, maybe it's your spiritual group, maybe you go to church, maybe you go to some sort of witchy girls' night, I don't know. But the people around you are going to help you through the challenging moments. So try not to go it alone all the time. And the last card that I am going to pull for pile number 2 is basically asking, what's kind of the big lesson of 2022? What is the big learning thing that we need to know? You'll survive this, new solutions and beginnings. Oh my gosh, you guys, I love that. So it says Inner Earth. To me, also, I feel like this is a very stable card. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that triangle is Earth. So this to me is a very grounded year. I feel like it's very practical, probably very focused on again, finances and money. But the fact that it says new solutions and beginnings, I feel like this is really going to feel like a new year for you guys. It's going to feel like a new chapter. Absolutely. And when you look back at this year, you're going to say, wow, I did survive this and I created that new beginning. And it'll be a good lesson or a good reminder moving forward that you can start fresh, start new anytime you want. Alrighty, pile number 2. Thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in any of these decks, they are linked down below. I am also still doing private readings, so if you guys want to reach out to me for a private reading, feel free to do so through my website. And if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. I am planning on doing more pick a card readings in the future. Alrighty, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Bye! Alrighty, welcome pile number 3. So I know this looks like a lot of cards. Basically, we are doing one card for each month of 2022. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. And basically this is actually the Wheel of the Year tarot spread that I'm doing. It's usually in a circle, and then you pull additional cards for each month. And I'll kind of walk you through how to do it if you want to do it yourself and have a little bit more of a personalized reading instead of kind of this group reading. However, if you picked this group, I will say, as I was drawing them, the way I was drawing them, I was actually tuning into what your year was looking like already. This whole top row, I was just pulling them super fast. And then the whole bottom row was super slow. So to me, that's kind of saying your year at first might feel really fast, and then I felt like it was kind of I need to slow down. So I will say that before I even flip these over. But let's start with January. And these are all major cards. Oh my gosh, this is exactly what pile number 2 had. And it makes sense though for January to have the death card, because usually that's the year or the month where we're setting new intentions and we're like, yeah, New Year's resolutions. And the death card is all about like letting go of the old so the new can enter. So all of these are going to be majors, the major energy for that month. And then I'm going to pull an additional pip card that basically says, okay, how is this energy going to appear on just like a day-to-day level? So we're going to ask that. Shut up. This is exact same that pile number 2 had. It's interesting. Same 2 first cards. All right, so January. And maybe it's just because of the holidays. Maybe everyone's tight on money in January after the holidays. So January is definitely going to be about ending something, letting it go, and then inviting in new energy. So in order for rebirth to happen, something has to be let go of. And so to me, this is, with the 5 of coins, this is basically saying, struggles around money, job, any sort of stability. There's something that needs to be let go of, something that's no longer serving you. And the quicker that you can kind of let it die and let it peter out, the sooner you'll be able to invite in sort of that newer energy. Like I'm hearing for some of you that's like working in a job that's not actually making you money. Some of you, it might just be that you're overworking and not allowing more money to come to you because you're grinding at all the small stuff that doesn't matter. It might look different for different people. I'm also hearing that some of you guys just need to like move. Maybe it's like your physical location, but don't be surprised if there's an ending to something in that realm in your life in January. But know that the death card is not a scary card. It's literally about letting something die so something new and better can take its place. So let's jump into February. Oh, yes. And I think you're going to feel really good after this because the High Priestess is somebody, I think we've pulled the High Priestess in all 3 piles. This is somebody who is using their intuition, who's trusting their intuition. In February, you're going to feel just very divinely guided. Like, I did the right thing. Now I'm so tapped into my intuition and I'm tapped into it so much that I'm going to keep using it to manifest what I want in life. Oh, and what a beautiful card. And so how this is going to manifest is 9 of Cups. I feel like you're going to just feel emotionally really just awesome. You're going to not be so worried about things. It's going to affect the relationships around you as well because you feel you're just so secure in your emotions that it makes it so that you're more vulnerable, you're more open. I don't want to be like the psychic that I don't always, but I try not to do like a whole lot of relationship stuff because I know that's very like clickbaity, but February is definitely like a time for a new relationship to start if some of you are trying to attract that. And it's purely because you are so in tune with your intuition and your emotions. Like both of these cards are so like emotion and intuition driven that you're just so in tune with yourself and you're able to put out a vulnerable, honest version of yourself. And because of that, that's a really good place to be in to attract a relationship. Gosh, I'm getting that a lot of people are going to pair up in February. I don't know what it is. That's like a big one. If you're already in a relationship, think of this as you're really just in tune with your intuition, and you're really just feeling like you can tackle anything that comes your way because you're so in control of your emotions. And it's like being in that zone of not ignoring your emotions, like letting them come, letting them flow through you, and not ignoring the hard stuff that comes up. And then we're going to jump into March, and we have Hermit energy, which kind of makes sense after such an emotional February. You might need to kind of withdraw a little bit and kind of get your own space. The Hermit is somebody who just kind of holds themselves up for a while, so March might not have a whole lot going on, or if you do have a whole lot going on, maybe try to plan a little bit less. And how this is going to show up, is around money. So maybe money might be a little bit tighter in March, or maybe, the stability, the finances, the job might be on, I don't want to say it's on shaky grounds, because fours are all about stability, but there's kind of this energy of protection. So there's a reason why you're trying to like protect yourself, protect your energy, protect like your finances maybe because of what's been happening. I really want to pull an additional card here. I feel like there's a little bit something more here in March. Hermit. I'm just trying to determine if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I think for some of you it could go one way, for others it could go another way. Like you could be scared about your money and kind of like protecting it and holding up and like just not getting out there and doing things to improve, your financial situation. I think for others of you this is just like, I'm going to hibernate, I'm going to, conserve my resources, or I'm going to save up because maybe you're trying to purchase something in the future. But really, I think this is all good stuff of just withdrawing a little bit, and I think that's required at all times. Not all times, sorry, at some times in your life to make better decisions. Temperance. This card. I think it's interesting that every single pile has pulled Temperance. To me, I feel like the energy of 2022 is probably that we're just supposed to really kind of finally learn the lesson that we've been working on and understand how the last couple years have shaped us and how it's permanently changed us. And that's kind of what this card is. So let's see how that shows up for you. 3 of Coins. So again, Temperance is about, being pressed, being shaped, having rough stuff happen to you in life, to where you're changed at kind of like a core level. And this being around the 3 of Coins, I feel like the 3 of Coins is essentially about harmony, especially in practical concerns. Again, job, money, stability. You guys have a lot of coin energy coming into next year. I feel like for some of you, this is going to be kind of like a rough few months. And it might change you into being a little bit harder, or not harder, but like this saving money energy, like the people that have to do that, you're going to come out of it profitable because you did good, you like saved some money, you were smart with it, or you were smart with like your job options, or maybe you stuck around at a job and even though you didn't want to. I think for some of us it might be more of a struggle because we're trying to get away as like the Hermit. And then we're having all of these hard things that are kind of pressing down on us, and it might feel a little bit overwhelming. But I think the more we lean into the fact that, hey, sometimes you do need to get away to process things, and sometimes it is okay to just protect yourself in the time being. And when you kind of lean into the energy of Temperance, which is just that, hey, this is going to change me, and that's okay. I don't have to fight it. I'm going to learn the lessons here. I think this is kind of what comes out of it. I'm almost seeing this as 2 choices. You can look at it as something scary and bad, or you can be like, no, I'm not going to be bothered by it. I'm going to understand that, my emotions affect the situation, and I'm going to try to stay optimistic and hopeful about it and look for the lessons in it. I feel like I'm not getting the full picture yet because I feel like it's going to continue to unravel with these cards. Okay. So once we get into May, we pulled the Fool card. So this is like fresh starts, naivety. I feel like this area right here is a little bit of a struggle for you guys. I feel like some of you, it's so interesting because I'm reading so many people, and so I'm like getting so many like, I can't describe it other than like there's this a branch that will go one way and I'm reading somebody, and then a branch that is like a couple other people. But I feel like the energy of this month is starting fresh and starting new. And I think for some of you, it's going to be that you maybe did finally leave that job, or maybe you stuck with something long enough that now it kind of has a new, fresh start. Let's see how it manifests day to day in that month. Nine of Swords. Gosh, this is so interesting because I feel like all of these months can either go one of two ways. And so this month, this is May, I feel like this could be overwhelm that you kind of lean into because everything feels so new and so different in like uncharted territories. Or you can really get a handle on like, okay, I'm not going to let this screw with me mentally. I'm not going to let it get me off my game. I'm going to work with the challenges that are ahead. Because the Nine of Swords, I kind of read that as sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes you can't see the future and it's stressful. But really we need to come into it with the energy of the Fool, which is basically saying, you know what, I'm just going to move forward. And it's almost like a little bit of risky behavior, a little bit of just going with it and not over analyzing every single little thing. This is an interesting couple of months. I'm very curious to see how this will pan out for some of you. Let me know when you get there. Come back and comment. I'm curious what it'll look like. So then we get into June. Oh no. Okay. And then we got the Tower. I think I'm optimistically wanting you guys to learn these lessons quicker. But it makes so much sense because we were going really fast through this energy. So the Tower is all about, okay, the foundation has crumbled. I feel like you guys are holding out. I don't feel like you're like ignoring anything. I think you're trying your best. I feel like this is something out of your control. And the Tower card is basically saying the tower's fallen over, the tower is broken, and in the middle of it, it seems disastrous and awful, and it's like, oh my gosh, all the energy that it's going to take to rebuild this stinking thing. That can be overwhelming in the moment, but you have to remember at the end of that, oh, well, there's an opportunity to build something better. At least the worst of it is gone, You can only go up from here. So let's see how this is going to show up day to day in June for you. Four of Cups. And I will say too, I forgot to say at the beginning, but to fully do this spread, you're actually supposed to pull one more card for each of these. I didn't want to make these readings too terribly long. So what you can do is you can pull one card actually from your court cards if you have the tarot. So if you noticed, I've done all majors for the first question, all minors or pips for the second, and then the third one you want to actually use court cards. And basically that third question you're going to ask is, how do I work with this energy? How do I work with the energy of February? How do I work with the energy of January? So if you have a deck with you, even if you don't have the traditional tarot, you can just pull any deck, because oracle cards would even work for that. So then you can get some additional information even after what I'm giving you. Four of Cups. Oh, interesting. So to me, this is saying your Tower moment is going to be kind of a lot in your head. It's going to be a lot emotional. It's going to feel like the world is falling apart, even though it might not actually be falling apart. Cups, if this were a Pentacle card instead, or a coin card, I would say that maybe, everything is falling apart in a practical sense, like your work or your job or something. But this to me, I kind of feel like it's an ignoring of emotions, and then finally you're being forced to deal with them. But the Four of Cups is actually about stability in emotions. Honestly, the energy that I feel for you guys is just, I feel like you're ignoring some things emotionally or mentally, but as soon as you deal with them, it's like, oh my gosh, life is so much easier. I can move forward. I'm not ignoring it anymore. And I'm just kind of getting this sense of like you guys prolonging things because you're just like wanting to ignore things. So again, take this information and say, no, I don't want, the negative parts of this. And I'm going to listen to what Lauren said and try to move it along in a different way. So then we get into July. Ooh, yay. That is a great card to follow up with the Tower card. So July, and I remember this is a lot slower, so hopefully the second half of the year is looking a lot better. And the Empress card is about abundance, all your needs and wants being met. And I kind of feel like this is on a lot of realms, money, mentally, physically, emotionally. It's just feeling at peace and that you have everything you want and need. So let's look at how that might manifest. Ooh, I feel like it's because you've really gotten on top of those like mental sabotaging thoughts that you've been doing to yourself. And it's like, no, you know what? I'm drawing the line. I'm not going to do this to myself anymore. I'm going to be on top of my mind and my emotions and how I treat myself. Because I feel like this image is like what you've been doing before. You've just been kind of like sabotaging yourself. But the Ten of Swords is kind of like, no, we're coming to an end of this. There's no more of this. We're done with this energy. And I'm stepping into my Empress energy, and I'm only focusing on abundant thoughts, abundant mindset, abundant emotions. Ah, yes. And then we have August. And this is all about strength. In the traditional tarot, this is normally a lion, but it's like an alligator lion. I kind of like it. And she looks like she's from Brave. Okay, and so the strength card, that's such an awesome card to have for August. And this is basically saying inner strength. This month you're really on top of all of these things. It's almost like you're carrying the lessons that you've learned over into this month. Let's see how it's going to manifest day to day. What will this strength look like? It's definitely your strength when it comes to like your mental attitude. I feel like your mentality is huge for 2022. It's your biggest obstacle. And so the Six of Swords, I think this is kind of any leftover energy of things you need to get rid of might pop up in this month, but this is like, you're done. You're like, peace. I'm getting in this boat and I'm leaving. I'm no longer dealing with, again, it's like mental stuff, mental habits of like self-sabotage, of I'm not good enough, or, whatever it might be that you're struggling with. I can't make money, or I can't be in a relationship. And you're literally saying, bye, I'm leaving, I'm going to a different side of the world. I'm just saying that because it's like she's getting in this boat and she's leaving, and it's the energy of leaving the negativity behind and moving on towards more positive shores. And then, what is this? October, no. What's the July, August, September. September. The moon. Pulled the moon in every single one as well. Or I think the moon card is the energy of what are you hiding from yourself or from other people? What illusions are you putting out to other people, or what illusions are you sort of believing in that you shouldn't be? So let's look at how it's going to show up mundanely, and we have the Four of Wands. Honestly, what I feel like this is I feel like you have some good things going on. I know this shows a relationship. For some of you, that might still be the case with this relationship that we started. For others of you, it might just be the relationship that you have with something you're super passionate about. Your job, your career, something that you practice that you're really good at. And this is saying like there's success here, there's good stuff here, but it's almost like you're questioning it. You're like searching for the illusion. You're searching for the things that maybe aren't even there. Or it could be that for some of you, you're in an area there's an area of your life where you're not being the most vulnerable, authentic version of yourself. It's again, you're like portraying that illusion that everything is wonderful and fine and perfect. And it's kind of asking you, is there anything you can change, get better at, be more vulnerable at? So this month is gonna definitely like test you or question you of like, hey, is this something you're really being truthful about? And I think as long as you lean into the emotions and don't fight them or ignore them, I think you're going to identify it pretty quickly. And heck, you might even know what I'm talking about already. And for those of you in a relationship, I'm also just getting like, don't sabotage that relationship because it's so good. And you're like, oh my gosh, all these anxious thoughts, they're I'm not good enough, this job isn't good enough, and then you're sabotaging yourself because you're believing this illusion that isn't real. Again, that comes back to that mental attitude of, not believing the negativity that you see. Oh my gosh, which is such a perfect card for October. So the October card, gosh, for some of you, this is definitely a relationship heavy year. I'm getting that more so with those of you who are single or in a newer relationship, or maybe it's just those of you who want to take your relationship to the next level. But I will read this as if you are not in a relationship, because the Lovers card is about how are you your own best ally. So you could look at this as two halves of the same whole. It's like your good side and your dark side, like your shadow and your light side. And instead of ignoring it, like we were talking about with the moon, it's about embracing those emotions. And when I say embrace the emotions, I literally just mean just don't ignore them. Don't shove them under the rug until you explode. It's about feeling them and asking yourself, all right, well, I felt them. This is why they're happening. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to come up with a solution for this. Even if the solution doesn't fix it overnight, I'm going to move on to, doing something with this, again, instead of like shoving it under the rug. So October is going to make you ask, how can you work better with yourself? How are you your own best ally? What can you do what strengths do you have? And how can you use those to get the things that you want in life? Now, if this is a relationship, it's sort of the same thing. It's like, it's almost like coming off this card. How can you be more authentic, vulnerable, honest with each other? Instead of, the opposite of just like not being your true self. So let's see. I know I'm already saying how I feel like it's going to show up, but I'm going to pull it as well. Okay, and I think this is for another group of you. And the 7 of Coins. So this might be in relation to money again. We're coming back to money issues or job, stability, practical concerns, roof over your head. So you might have some issues, some things that need to be dealt with. I think 7s are usually like change, movement, things needing to be moved around and fixed. And so how you can work with that energy instead of fighting it is ask, what are my strengths? So, how can I apply myself here to fix this as best as I can? Then we get into November, woohoo, and we got the Wheel of Fortune. This to me is saying that with a lot of these things that are going on, I feel like you guys are kind of working on so many different areas of your life over 2022. But this is when a lot of you start to see some payoff here. Because the Wheel of Fortune is literally like fortune coming to you and, feeling happy, feeling like all of these things are coming together for a reason. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is why this is all happening. And now it's all connected, and I'm seeing how, when I work on my mental attitude and my emotions and all of this, that it actually affects everything else. And I have the power to control it is kind of what this card feels like to me. But do you know with this card, this is also saying you're not quite done yet. You're like, in the major arcana, I think this is like halfway there. You still have a lot of options in front of you. You still have a lot of research to do. You have a lot of things you can still work on. And how this will show up is in your emotions. So I think you're going to be feeling really good. I think you're going to feel like the connection of all of this, that, wow, I've come so far. And oh my gosh, that's so perfect, because the 7 of Cups is also, this is Aladdin. It's also about, oh my gosh, look at how many options you have. You have so many different directions you can go. You have so many things you can do to manifest, or you have so many things you can manifest, and it can almost be overwhelming. But just like this Wheel of Fortune card, remember in November that it's about doing your research, not necessarily committing to one yet, but understanding that, oh, my emotions are a little overwhelming. I'm just going to pick one thing and stick to it. And so it might not be actual like things you're trying to manifest. It could just be that you've got a lot emotionally going on and you just need to separate it out so that you can handle it individually. And then to end the year, we have the Hierophant. So the Hierophant is somebody who has more knowledge, more access than you do. And so maybe it's in relation to all of these options that you have. I feel like so many of you guys, like as this reading progresses, so many of you branch off into different ways. it's kind of hard to read. Like, I feel like some of you, these different options are going to be money options. I feel like some of you, it's going to be emotional options. It's like, there's just so many different ways. But know that in this last month, there's somebody out there that can help you with it. If it's with relationships, maybe it's a counselor, maybe it's somebody online, maybe it's somebody who knows something about finances, maybe it's a book even that you pick up to help you kind of manage your thoughts and emotions. But this is leaning into people or a person that has more knowledge to help you get to the next step that you want to get to. And how this is going to manifest is, it's very similar to the Seven of Cups. It's like this energy of you got so much going on. It's probably a little chaotic. And you probably have a lot of ideas and a lot of things you're excited about. I kind of feel like you guys are starting a new chapter. I would say, where does the energy really shift? I feel like October on, you're kind of starting this new lesson of like, all right, got some stressful things here. How can I work with myself? Then you figure it out. You got so many options in front of you. And then you're like, what do I do with it? I just need some advice. And then, you're carrying into 2023 to kind of work on this some more. But just know that in December, try not to lean into the chaos so much. And again, work on the figuring out the options and educating yourself. But really, the stuff that you're still stuck on, try to find outside opinions on for December. And now we're going to jump into our overall advice for the year. And I pulled from this Moonology deck that I love. And you guys got the last quarter moon in Sagittarius. Practice gratitude. So last quarter moons are again about closure. Every single pile had a last quarter moon. It was in a different sign. But this is all about finding closure. And I feel like for you guys, it might be extending into about this time period, like August, September ish. But I think the practicing gratitude is more this general advice of like knowing that there's struggles that you're going to have at any moment in life. And if you're constantly focused on the things that are going wrong and how your life is not perfect yet, then you're constantly keeping yourself there through the law of attraction. If you're constantly focused on negativity, you're just going to attract more of that negativity. So the quicker you can appreciate where you are in every moment, being thankful for the relationships you have, being thankful, for the money that you do have and being smart with it, and, being on top of your emotions and being thankful that you have the resources to handle that. And, I could go on, but practicing gratitude is basically the easiest way you can attract more abundance, especially when you feel like you don't have it. Okay, so I'm going to read from this little booklet really quick. Practice gratitude. The good news is that even though you have some issues that need tackling, they're nothing that you can't manage. More good news is that the best way for you to clear the air and reach a breakthrough is to have a good old-fashioned laugh. It's all too easy to take life too seriously. This card urges you to take a lighter approach to life if you want to manifest your dreams. And the crystals it says to work with: Amazonite, gold tiger's eye, blue tiger's eye, citrine, lapis lazuli, or any agate. And Sagittarius is all about, that sign is all about understanding the world that you live in. And I think Sagittarius is sometimes go a little too far with this and try to understand every little thing that happens at every single time, and why it's happening and what the world is like. And you try to almost understand everything so you can control your life. And I feel like, again, shift out of that energy and more into just being grateful for what you have and understanding that sometimes life hands you a poop sandwich, and there's no greater meaning to that than that. I feel like for you guys get in your own way a lot because you overanalyze and you feel like there has to be a meaning behind everything, and that if it's happening, you manifested it and you have to deal with the repercussions. And I feel like you guys let it throw you off for a really long amount of time. That's what I feel like with all of these cards. So try not to let it throw you off so much and focus on what is working. What is working for you right now? All right. And then in my live nights, a lot of you guys asked, because I wanted to know what other questions you wanted me to ask for this reading. And some of you guys said you wanted to know how COVID or like the pandemic was going to affect us moving into next year. Because I don't know about you guys, but it really did feel like last year and this year, so 2020, 2021, it almost felt like one continuous thing. And I think we all are just wanting to move on. So how is it going to affect you guys? Interesting. This makes so much sense with your guys' energy, because we're definitely getting this like heartbreak card, but then this like, I'm the queen, I'm abundant, I don't let this crap bother me. So I think you guys just need to have some more fair expectations of kind of like what this pandemic will look like. It's definitely not going to go back to normal or like your idea of what it should be. I feel like your expectations are a little too high and you might have a little bit of a heartbreak, when looking at this situation. But then as soon as you realize that and you kind of go with what it is and go with the flow instead of like fighting that it's not looking this exact way, it's like you're going to be walking outside in your winery and you're just going to be like, yes. Nothing bothers me. I'm just here in my pretty outfit and money and this bird who has an apple for a head. So I think this energy that she's giving is just like, I'm not going to let it bother me. What is this? The Nine of Pentacles? Actually, in the Nine of Pentacles, this is about practical concerns. And that's, I think, what's bothering you guys the most is just how it's affected, like, life in general, money, maybe your housing, just the practical sense of how you do everything day to day. But the 9 is saying it's almost done. You're almost to 10, which is kind of where these cards kind of restart. And it's basically saying it's almost over. So I really do feel like this is a promise of this year it's going to be a lot different. But just don't get your expectations up, pile number 3. Not to I should say to a standard that's unrealistic is what that card feels like. And then I wanted to ask, okay, so this year, if you want to manifest anything, what do you need to keep in mind? Oh my gosh, and you basically got the manifestation card, but this is the manifestation with the universe, with your spiritual team. This is about understanding that you don't have to do everything. You have a spiritual team helping you. All you have to do is ask them for what you want. So really when I think of co-creation, I think of, even if you're not really feeling like you know who your spiritual team is, this can just be asking, saying, asking through intentions and saying, show me the way, how do I get to a better place? How does this get better? And just throwing out questions to the universe and then paying attention. But I think the other half of this is that you are setting very clear intentions of what you want and then showing the universe that you're serious about making it happen. And so you take a step that is in a direction that makes you feel uncomfortable. For example, say you want to manifest a car and you tell the universe something very clear. Universe, I want a car. I want maybe an SUV, but don't get as specific as like, I want a 2008 this or that. I don't know. I'm not a car person. And then you've put in a very clear order, but then do something towards that makes you uncomfortable. Maybe it's going to walk around a car lot, or maybe it's starting to save up $20 every month for a down payment or something. I don't know. So co-creation is about being clear. This is a two-way street, but then also saying, I'm willing to do the work and not just expecting the universe to hand it to you. And then what the universe is going to do is they're going to meet you halfway. And they're going to say, okay, cool. You made that step. You were serious. You were clear. We're going to help push it along in this way. So I feel like for you guys for manifesting, maybe just get familiar with the idea of co-creation and just learn more about manifesting in general. And then I wanted to ask, with any sort of challenges that come up in 2022, like what's the one thing you need to keep in mind for dealing with said challenges? Peace. And it makes sense with like your guys' mental state. I feel like at the core of any challenge, you really need to find peace. If you're not calm, if you haven't centered yourself, you're going to make poor decisions, you're going to act rashly. It's just not going to be a good combination. So the quicker you can kind of get into, you know what, I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to let this like throw off my day, my week, my month. I'm going to understand that I need to find peace and clarity before I can make a decision. I need to understand my emotions first. I think that that will be the key to working through any sort of challenge that you might have. And then I wanted to ask one last question of what is the overall lesson that you are supposed to learn in 2022? What's kind of the major theme of once you look back, what does it look like? A new earth. It's happening. Keep holding the vision. This makes so much sense. This year, I feel like, is a teaching year for gratitude, abundance, and manifestation for you guys. You're getting a taste of everything. You're manifesting a little bit of a relationship, maybe a little bit of money, a little bit of emotional control, like passionate things, and you're understanding how to co-create with the universe by being, by getting yourself to a more peaceful, grounded state, but then also practicing this gratitude. And because of it, it's almost like this year is a huge learning lesson in manifestation. And I feel like as soon as you leave this year, again, starting in these last 3 months that I was feeling, it's almost like you're going to take that into the next chapter of your life and you're going to be like, all right, cool. I know how to manifest now. I know how to hold the vision and bring things into my life. I feel like you have to get a little bit of a taste of it. I think this is a little bit of a trial and error. If you feel like you're already there, if you're already no, Lauren, I know how to manifest. I don't need any more trials. I need it now. That might not be exactly you in this reading. But the message here is, look, you're starting things. You are starting to manifest things. You might not have your perfect life by the end of the year, but when you look back, you're going to be like, holy crap, actually, I manifested this, that, and that. And I started this, or my income is increasing, or I, started that path, and you're just going to leave 2022 with so much hope. I think it's going to increase over time as you realize how much you're able to affect that future. And I just feel like you're going to realize how much of a magical being you are. This is giving me the magician, master manifester kind of energy. But I feel like you're learning how to do it. Again, that might just be some of you. Alrighty, pile number 3, that is your reading. I hope that resonated or helped you in some way. Again, remember, you can use this information to change your future. You have ultimate free will. And if you liked any of these decks, I will link them in the description down below. And remember to give me a big thumbs up if you like this video. Please subscribe. If you are new here, I will do more pick-a-cards, but again, I have videos on psychic development if you want to learn how to tap into your intuition more. And just remember as well, I do personal readings and you can book those on my website. Alrighty, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic 2022. Bye. All right, everyone. So these 3 additional cards are basically for any questions that you might have had about 2022 that didn't get answered. So what I want you guys to do is think about one question that you might still have about 2022. Maybe it's something you want to manifest. Maybe it's something you really just want to know the outcome of. So if you need to, press pause really quick, because I find when you rush these, the messages are not as clear because maybe you weren't as clear about your question. But what is that one thing that you really want to know about 2022? So go ahead and press pause if you need to. All right, and now that you have your question, what I want you to do is ask which card pile is for you. So which one of these 3 cards, 1, 2, 3, is for you and for that additional question that you might have asked. And again, if you need to pause to further connect with these cards, feel free to do so. And the reason why I separate that out is because I really want to make sure you guys are clear on your question before you pick a pile, and then you're clear on exactly which pile is meant for you. So let's start with pile number 1. All right, embrace the flow of life in Page of Cups. So with this Pisces energy, I'm definitely getting that whatever you're asking about is definitely going to require you to connect to your intuition. Full moon in Gemini, sometimes this is kind of saying you might be in two places at once. Maybe you're going back and forth over something, or maybe whatever you're curious about is just like on the fence at the current moment. But embracing the flow of it is basically saying, hey, don't necessarily worry about what's going to happen, because at the end of the day, what's supposed to happen will happen. And the energy that you sort of need to bring into this is Page of Cups. And the Page of Cups is basically fresh starts, new starts, especially around your emotions. So I think your emotions are definitely clouding what's supposed to happen here. So try to look at it from a new perspective, especially when it comes to like your heart, your emotions, because right now things are just too like half and half. All right, pile number 2, Attend to the Details and Queen of Pentacles. So last quarter moon in Virgo. Attending to the details, especially with Virgo, this is about being very analytic about this. Looking at the pros and cons, doing the hard numbers if you have to. Whatever you're asking about requires you to be very analytic, whereas it's almost like the opposite of this first pile, which is using your intuition. And I feel like it's around practical matters, or maybe it is, but this is basically saying you can get your hands on this and affect it. But the Queen of Pentacles is also an energy of doing the internal work, especially around the practical stuff like job, money, career. But it's also saying like, look, you have the ability to bring all this abundance into your life. You just gotta maybe hammer out the hard details first. And pile number 3. Full moon in Libra, find a balance, Knight of Swords. Try to get that out of the glare. So full moon in Libra, find a balance. So whatever you guys are asking about, full moon in Libra is basically, it's almost like similar to this of like, there needs to be more of a balance struck before you kind of figure out what's going on or how this is going to play out. The Knight of Swords is the energy that you need to bring in, and this is like fast moving action and having a lot of like mental realizations around what's going on. So maybe don't ignore, some of those inklings that you've got coming your way, and really push forward on trying to make it happen. And when you do, I think you're going to have it play out a little bit clearer, and then you're going to be able to find that balance a little bit more. Honestly, I feel like for this pile, it's saying that in order to achieve what you want to achieve, you kind of almost need to pull back from this crazy energy and not be such a go-getter or be so pushy about it, and kind of receive and let it come to you. Alrighty, you guys, thank you so much for watching my pick a card reading. Let me know what you want me to do for my next pick a card reading. And I hope that the rest of your 2022 goes well. Awesome. Thank you for watching. Bye.